Hey friends, I just got through the 2026 State of the Workplace report from Gallup, and I gotta be honest, I'm a little bit depressed, but I'm also feeling hopeful. After reading through that report, I kept thinking, oh geez, should leaders be worried right now? Because according to that latest report, engagement is dropping, managers are burning out, and after $40 billion in AI investment, global productivity has barely moved. And so I think it's worth asking, is something broken in the workplace? Or might we just be leading it wrong and need a new approach? In this video, I'm going to share some thoughts and reactions to a few of the findings from this year's report, and then offer a few thoughts on where should leaders go from here. And I want to walk you through what's actually happening behind the numbers, what leaders might be missing, and most importantly, what can we do about it? So let's start with the engagement problem, because it's the headline of the report. Global engagement has dropped to 20%. It was 21% last year, and most of that drop was from increases in manager disengagement. But think about that. This means that 80% of employees are either checked out or actively disengaged. Now, mind you, for the last 10 years, disengagement numbers have floated between 15 and 23%. But overall, these are pitiful numbers. If you're leading a team, that means that you are missing out on a lot of team productivity. And Gallup estimates that disengagement is costing the global economy $10 trillion in lost productivity.
$100 billion.
Now, it can be easy to blame others and judge people for their lack of motivation or commitment, or their lack of engagement at work. But consider this. Have you ever worked at a job where you were disengaged? Have you ever felt unmotivated at work? Have you ever asked, why am I even doing this? Shoot, you might be experiencing this right now. If you watch these videos, then I assume you care about performing well and you're a motivated person. So what was going on at work that made you feel disengaged? Maybe you felt that the work was meaningless. Maybe you were dealing with a bunch of workplace drama that was distracting you from your core work. Whatever it was, it's worth remembering that in the workplace, we work with humans. And humans seek and need leadership. This isn't a motivation problem. This is a leadership problem. Engagement isn't a random thing that some organizations magically have and others don't. Engagement is a reflection of clarity, expectations, feedback, purpose, connection, and more. All of these things leaders have influence over. And if you're a leader watching this and you know your team is disengaged, where might you start? Well, my recommendation, focus on clarity. People are disengaged for no reason. Disengagement often comes from a lack of clarity. And there are 3 places where a lack of clarity leads to people saying, oh, well, what's the point? Why am I even doing this? One is the mission. People need purpose. And most people want to be sure that their work is contributing to a larger impact. If there is no clear mission or goals, then employees may see their work as meaningless. Meaningless work is disengaging. People engage with purpose, not tasks. Second, people will disengage when there is a lack of clear priorities. There's this saying, when everything is a priority, nothing is. And that's so true. When teams hear their leader say that everything is a priority, what they really hear is, my leader lacks focus. My leader won't take a risk by putting a stake in the ground. My leader wants me to deliver 10 things in the time it takes to deliver 2 things. Now, when this happens, teams feel like their leaders aren't listening. And this lack of clear priorities can be demoralizing, and it can lead to disengagement. So create clarity on both the mission and the goals, and the work priorities to achieve those goals. Third, people disengage when they're not getting clear feedback, when there's no clear expectations. I've worked with over 1,000 leaders on giving and receiving feedback. Every leader and frontline worker I have worked with says the same thing. I wish I got more feedback from my manager. Now, while the first 2 items create clarity on the team's purpose and tasks, this is all about being seen. If you go to work and you strive to do your job well, and no one notices, ever, how likely are you to keep pushing forward? You would probably be disengaged. We want to see that our work is noticed, but also we want clarity from our leaders that what we are doing is right, it's good, and it is aligned with the mission. Now, clear expectations and clear feedback serves as a signal to team members that you see them and that you see their quality of work and delivery or some other area where they're completing work. So if your team is disengaged, where can you create clarity? Where can you create expectations? Now that we've talked about frontline employees, we have to talk about the manager's perspective. And this part should concern you if you lead managers. In the Gallup report, manager engagement has dropped 9 points since 2022. Managers used to be more engaged than frontline workers, but now they're basically the same. Now, of course, disengagement anywhere in the organization negatively impacts performance and productivity. But if your managers are disengaged, your frontline workers are more likely to be disengaged. So we have to ask the question, why are managers becoming more disengaged? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, there are at least 7 reasons. Let's blast through them. First, managers get caught in the middle of senior leaders demanding results and employees needing support, coaching, and clarity. Managers have to absorb the pressure from both directions. And I'll share from personal experience, frontline workers don't understand the pressure that senior leaders face. And senior leaders are often disconnected of the reality on the front lines. And the manager is in the middle. They are aware of both and they deal with both. Second, managers are doing more with less. In 2025, in the US, there were 1.2 million job cuts. That's about twice as many layoffs as 2024. There's a little over 700,000 in 2024. Managers are now navigating team restructuring and leaner budgets and more direct reports, more administrative work, and more responsibility. They are being asked to do more with less. And when priorities outpace capacity, it's easy to get disengaged. Third, many industries are seeing constant organizational change, and managers are expected to turn that chaos into order. So not only are people getting laid off, but AI is on everybody's radar, and teams are being asked to leverage a technology they don't fully understand. Now pair that with constantly shifting priorities, and we start stacking up fatigue and uncertainty. Fourth, managers aren't getting enough training. Gallup reports that only 44% of managers globally have received formal management training. Now, many are promoted for their performance, not their people leadership readiness. And because of this, we have a lot of skilled managers who know how to do the job themselves, but they're struggling to take care of a team who is now responsible for doing that job. Fifth, Gallup has repeatedly found that managers report more stress, more burnout, worse work-life balance, and worse physical well-being than their employees and their own managers. Sixth, oftentimes managers are not given clear expectations and instead are given competing priorities. Or again, everything is a priority. This creates a lot of distractions, heavy workloads, both of which lead to stress. And seventh, managers often feel unsupported by senior leadership. They're expected to make it work without enough resources, without coaching or autonomy or realistic bandwidth. Now, managers will disengage when they are expected to carry all that responsibility without clarity, without the capability, or without the capacity. Now, this means organizations wanting high-performing teams should focus on clarity, capability, and capacity. And we've talked about clarity already, and the same topics are important here. What's the goal? What's the mission? What are the priorities that help us achieve that mission? And what are the expectations? Capability is about teaching and building skills. Now, there's some core skills that every manager and leader should be equipped with. A short list would include emotional intelligence, creating expectations and accountabilities, giving feedback, coaching, and resilience. If you want a full list of core leadership skills, let me know down in the comments. The third thing is capacity. We cannot expect our managers to stay engaged when they are overwhelmed with priorities without the work capacity to support those priorities. Some things organizations and senior leaders can do is to create a real list of priorities where some things will be at the top and then some things will be at the bottom. They can also create better systems, decrease the red tape and bureaucracy that comes with making decisions, and even build in work sprints with planned reset times and recovery times. Overall, the disengagement numbers are appalling, I think. But I also see this as an opportunity for leaders because leaders have a huge impact on their team's engagement. And for leaders, in addition to creating clarity and capability and capacity, they should bring that energy and passion to work because that passion is contagious. Okay, there's one more thing I want to comment on in this report, and that is well-being. Globally, 40% of employees experience daily stress. And that number jumps to 50% when we're looking at only North America. And leaders actually report experiencing more stress and more anger and more loneliness. Now from here, there's multiple truths. One is for leaders to realize that their teams are feeling more of the pressure. But also it would be good for teams to recognize that leadership today is heavier than ever. There's more responsibility, more uncertainty, there's more pressure. Now, most leaders know that this added pressure comes with the territory of their jobs. But friends, if there's one great takeaway from the Gallup notes, they say this. Gallup finds that when managers, including leaders, are engaged, they report experiencing all negative emotions at lower rates than individual contributors. They are also 14 points more likely to be thriving in their overall life than the average leader. So overall, what do we learn from this report? Most people are disengaged. Everyone is stressed, especially leaders. But if leaders are engaged, their perceived stress decreases and their well-being goes up. Also, while this is not a Gallup recommendation, if you want to improve engagement, work to give people clarity on the mission, priorities, expectations, and strive to improve capabilities by giving your people the training that they need. And finally, create capacity by giving your team the time and the resources they need to achieve their tasks. If you're a leader trying to improve your own performance or your team's culture, consider subscribing because this is what I do. Also, if you'd like more information about personal development for leaders, consider subscribing to my newsletter, Method Unstoppable. I'll go ahead and put a link in the comments. Friends, thanks for being here. Till next time.